Hey everybody, today I'm hanging with that guy, Benjamin Raven. Stick around. Tick, 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 boom. So I'm going to sit here with Benjamin Raven. He's been instructing since about 1986, but pretty much all of his life he's been into primitive skills and teaching about why we should be reconnecting with nature, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit about today. I'm going to let him have the floor and share some of his philosophy as far as what it does for the human body to get out into nature, get the fresh air, get the fresh water, and just reconnect with Mother Nature out here.
Yeah, it's good being out here with my friend Madison Poole, and yeah, like you said, I've been teaching since 1986. I've been pretty much doing it all my life. I think probably where I got started, maybe, I won't say the Boy Scouts had a big influence on me, because they didn't, but I was in a Boy Scout group that pretty much had me carrying a whole camping store on my back whenever we'd go camping, and I thought, well, this don't feel right, and I learned pretty quick that the more skills you got, the less stuff you got to have, and I think it went from there. I found out I was a Cherokee in heritage and started looking into that some, and then I got more and more interested in how primitive people live. And realize that this is not just a Native American thing, that it's if you go back in your ancestry far enough, no matter what part of the world your ancestors in, there's a time we lived off of what nature had to provide. Before we had modern technology, before the Iron Age, before the Bronze Age, there was the Stone Age, and the Stone Age doesn't necessarily have to do with evolution or anything like that, or cavemen or knuckle dragon apes or nothing. It's more to do with the technology. We were using stone and bone and wood, or whatever nature provided. There was no methods for making iron tools or anything like that yet. And the more I thought about it, then I found that, if you were really in a true survival situation, like say maybe, and it happens all the time, people just get off the trail and maybe didn't have their, food with them, didn't have no kind of gear with them. Maybe they were just going out for a day hike, and wasn't even thinking about, whether it was going to be overnight, wasn't planning on being overnight. Just see this sign on the trail, easy, hike 2 miles, and then they get off the trail, and then all of a sudden, everything looks the same, and they're walking around in circles. What if you got in that situation? It happens all the time. You would be in the Stone Age again, wouldn't you? I mean, you would be back to what nature could provide, but most people don't know how valuable that is, to understand that concept, and to be able to take the resources that are there in nature and be able to live off of. But people did it for thousands of years. They wasn't just barely getting by and eking by and surviving. They were thriving, and there's been a lot of revival and re-interest, in primitive skills and survival skills and bushcraft and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of classes out there that you can take now, which I'm glad to see all that, and I just like to see, more people get involved in that. I mean, if you're a hiker, or if you're a kayaker, if you're whatever outdoor sports you're into, if you're in the woods a lot, you need to learn some basic skills. I mean, what if you get lost? I mean, I've had people tell me all the time, well, I just call 911 on my cell phone. Well, you can't get good reception going down the road sometimes.
Even here, yeah. In Western North Carolina, right. There's spots where you have no service at all. Right. So you're not going to be able to rely on your GPS. You're not going to be able to rely on texting, Facebook, anything at all.
Nope. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. I mean, if you're going to be in any outdoor situation, you enjoy getting outdoors, learn something, learn some basic skills. Carry a basic survival kit with you that you have the skills to use.
Well, let's stop right there. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about going back to the Stone Age. Mm-hmm. If you get caught in a situation where you're on a day hike or something like that, and something happens where you can't make it back, you don't have a cell phone to use. So basically, the only thing that you're going to have on you is what you bring into the woods. Other than that, you're stuck with stone, bone, and wood. Right. If you were stuck in that situation, what is the most important thing, that you would think, like the most important tool that you could make out of stone, bone, and wood that would basically help you survive for the next 24, 48, 72 hours?
Well, I mean, statistically, the number one thing that people die of that are caught in a survival situation is just they make mistakes. They think about what they don't have instead of what they do have. First thing you need to do is just calm down, sit down, assess what you have, and hopefully you got a pocket knife or something. I mean, if you're a hiker and like that, at least have that. An edge, the cutting edge is probably one of the most important tools you're going to have. And also some way of making fire, a convenient way of making fire. It can be a big lighter, it can be a ferro rod. There's lots of different ways to make fire that you can carry with you. But then statistically, the number 2 thing that people die of is exposure to elements. So my order that I set is shelter, fire, water, and food in that order, because you can build a shelter that you can survive in and stay warm in, which I've done it many times, stayed in 15-degree weather with nothing but jeans and a t-shirt just to test my shelters out, and you can stay warm without a fire. But then fire, is also very important though for lots of things. Warmth, for purifying water, for cooking food, keeps animals away. There's a nice peaceful factor just sitting by fire. Water is more important than food because you can go 30 days without food, if you're healthy, depending on your body size and all that kind of thing. But water, you can't go more than 4 days. So you need to have some type of, and even the digestive process takes up a lot of water. So if you don't have water, don't eat. You're better off, not eating at all, because that's going to take a lot of water there. But as far as tools go, at any given time, I have 2 or 3 knives on me till I think the cutting edge and the most important tools that you can have. And then some ways of making fire. I like ferro rods. That's about the best modern thing that's came out. In a long time, you can get those soaking wet and still strike sparks with them, to a dry timber bundle. Those are number 1 tools. But I think that everyone should engineer a survival kit that they know they can use. And I think it's a good idea to keep it attached to you, like a fanny pack or something like that, because you can lose your backpack. You might have to run from a bear. Maybe you turn over in a canoe and you lose your backpack. At least you'd have something attached to you. And some of the things I like to put in those is some means of fishing, some trapping wire, some snare wire. The survival blankets really work. They're really good. They were invented by NASA, but they will maintain, temperature. You can make shelter out of them, stuff like that. I like having some type of trash bag in my gear, because you can use it for rain gear. You can put it over a branch or fill the bag full of leaves and put it out in the sun, and the transpiration process and collect water that way. You just got to figure out what level that you can survive on, and keep those tools in the survival kit with you. So that's some of the things I like to do. But it's great to get out in nature. It's great to just get out here and connect. And you got, people connecting on a lot of different levels, whether it's cycling or what. Here in western North Carolina, a lot of outdoor sports, you can get into and stuff. A lot of places to go, like beautiful rivers and stuff like this. That you can get to, camping and that different things. But a wise person will learn some skills, and you'll find yourself connecting in a certain way. I think the more skilled you get, you look at things differently. You don't just look at a tree branch or a curved limb the same way. You think of it, I could use that for a tool, or and if you're smart, you'll be opportunist, and you'll see that dry timber bundle. Maybe it's just a bird nest or something, and think, well, I might need that, and you'll put it in your pocket. You look at things differently from a different perspective, and it could save your life to look at things like that. But the enjoyable aspect of it, though, too, just to know that, I take kids out, like an example, across the field, and they're typical like kids, pushing, screaming, always not paying no attention. I take them across the field, all right, and then I'll take them back across the field, same field, and I'll point out plants to them, what this is for, what that's for. Sometimes I even get them like to put down 4 little 12-inch sticks in a square. And I said, tell me everything you see in that square. And they're amazed. And it's totally different then when you take them across the field. They're like, their nose is like to the ground like a dog, on a hunt, and they're just like, oh, there's that plant there, yeah, maybe you can eat that, and that's kind of thing, and it opens up a whole new arena of just enjoyment, of expectation. It's hard to explain, that maybe you could call it a spiritual connection or something almost, because you're connecting to a bigger picture. It's not, it takes it out of the mind too that this is a hostile environment. Yeah, there's dangers out here, there's bears, there's, there might be some feral dogs or something, other places there could be worse than that.
Coyotes or
yeah.
badgers, whatever, yeah.
But we have isolated ourselves so much in our modern society, though, to where those things are so feared. Either that, or we have this Disney aspect of them. Oh, cute little bear! I'm gonna get a picture with him, and then get mauled.
It usually doesn't end out very well for the human.
No, no, but in a sense, though, too, there's some kind of peace about getting out here and knowing you're part of that food chain, I guess, if you want to call it that. And how smart you are and how many skills you got depends on how high in the food chain you're going to be.
I was going to say, with like little kids, I think it opens up a whole new world for them, especially kids who are stuck inside and they just see outside as outside.
Yeah.
They don't see the outside as a medicine chest, as a grocery store. They don't see it as a place to actually survive and thrive. They just see it as a place that they see on TV or something like that, a hostile environment where nobody else is around and it's a bad place to be. When in truth, once you learn about what's around you, I think that you become so comfortable out here that you don't. This is not even a second thought. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I know it's a good idea. I mean, to always watch your kids, of course, because they have been willing to wander off into the woods, out of curiosity and stuff. But you're right. I mean, the more you teach them, the more they're going to know not to go in deep water, in a fast stream. The more they're going to know not to walk up to that bear or that raccoon, and try to pet it, because you teach them about that. Like I've taught my kids about what snakes are poisonous, So they don't fear snakes. They don't. In fact, my daughter, when she was like 6 years old, came up with a black snake, bigger than her. Karen, look what I got, Daddy, and it even latched on her arm, and she started laughing, But
actually bit her?
Yeah,
wow.
It latched on, yeah. And she was just laughing at it, because she knew it wasn't poisonous, it was just a black rat snake, it was kind of, gnawing on her, but, there's always a risk maybe of infection, but, for the most part, not. But you teach kids those lessons, and they know how to do things. They know how to approach things. It's so important to teach them. I mean, you was talking about like it seemed to be in a hostile environment. I mean, in many ways, that was where the European even failed when they came to this country. They came to a bunch of people that were living here in the advanced Stone Age. If you think about it, I mean, at best they might have had some bronze and silver tools. Depending on where you go, like the Aztecs or something like that. They had some pretty advanced stuff, but for the most part, they came here to a hostile environment. They chopped the trees down. They built their houses out of brick. They tried to make it like it was used to in Europe, and the Native Americans were like, we'd be cutting around a grocery store or a drugstore or, what are you doing?
Everything we need is here.
Yeah. And then, and they were, there's accounts of pilgrims and explorers and the colonists and whatever starving to death waiting for the supply ships to come, and they're in a land of plenty. The classic story of Thanksgiving, I can get into that, some bad aspects of that, but the classic story, the takeaway from that is, if the positive takeaway from it is, here was a Native American that come up on a bunch of pilgrims that were basically down to 3 kernels of corn each, and they were going to eat those kernels of corn and die. But, helped them and showed them how to catch fish by the basketfuls. Showed them how to make fish basket traps. Showed them how to make weirs in the water with corral to corral our fish together. How to spear fishing. Even they were out of lead for their rifles and stuff. So he showed them they didn't need rifles. Showed them how to hunt with a bow and an arrow. Their cloth clothing was getting torn into briars, and they showed them, how to make buckskin clothing, to cover their cloth clothing. So because you couldn't just go to, to Walmart and buy another pair of pants or nothing back then. So your clothes got ripped up in the briars. It's pretty serious.
And most people back then only had one change of clothes.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
The clothes on your back were the clothes that you had.
That's right. But but it opened up a whole new door. And then the exploration continued there from the mountain man, and they learned a lot from Native Americans. But Native Americans living here for thousands of years. I mean, you could go back in any country, like I said, and they were living this way, but they knew how to live off things. The good thing about nature is there's no prejudice. It doesn't treat anybody any different. It will give to you. If you know how to make fire and I know how to make fire, we can both make fire. But it doesn't take any notice of whether we're male, female, or what. It's
young, old, black, white.
Yeah.
But whatever the case may be.
Yeah, but it'll also bite you on the butt the same way too. I mean, if you make a mistake, then that's what's going to happen. But the thing is, what I mean is, it's understood. There are laws here that are just natural. They're not written down. They're not established and changed. This is what happens. If you get wet, you're going to get cold. If you can't build a fire, you're liable to starve to death. You can, if you know how to fish, and you can fish. It's all equal out here.
I also, and we talked about this before, is the concept that you can do everything right.
Yeah.
You could come out here and you could set your traps right. You could come out here and have your line cast in the water just right with the right bait and everything, but you know what? You're still not going to get guaranteed success. There is no such thing as a guarantee.
Right.
So it's nature has a way of humbling you, and it's either you're going to you're either going to succumb to what nature has for you, or you're going to die. And if you succumb to it, you've got to realize that Mother Nature is the queen, and you're going to have to figure out a workaround to what she's placed in front of you.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I always kind of enjoyed about it was, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees at all. There's nobody to complain to. There's nobody to whine to. It just is.
Yeah.
Point blank.
There's certain principles, if you understand them, you can survive. How does your body lose you? That kind of. I got a friend in California. I love what he does. He took his primitive skills and he goes to homeless camps. And he like for instance, recently, it's cold and everything, and he's like, dude, your shelter sucks. He said, let me show you how to build it better. And they had to use what they had, pallets and whatever else, but he showed them how to not face the entrance into the wind, and how to insulate the ground, and taught them the principles of how to stay warm, and that kind of thing. How's your body lose heat? Showed them how to cook, and things like that. I mean, that's a great lesson there in that, because he's able to apply that to it. In the same way out here, if you were in that situation, then that's the difference between you surviving and not. So it's not just a hobby. It goes beyond being a hobby. Maybe it is to some people, I don't know. And it ain't something that most of us are going to have, in a situation. Most time I've had to go out and get lost on purpose to practice my skills. But so it might not happen to me, but it might. I mean, Daniel Boone, he wouldn't ever admit to being lost either, but he says he might be willing for 4 days. So, so it can happen to the best of us. So especially though, like I say, if you're in any kind of outdoor sport, hiking, cycling, swimming, kayaking, you need some kind of level of survival. I think everybody needs to know first aid, and you need to take some kind of survival skill course. And the more that it's based, I love gear. I mean, a lot of the gear I like and stuff, but I like the fact that I can go in the woods and survive without gear.
It's what's up here.
Oh yeah.
It's what's up here in your 6-inch toolbox.
Yeah. That's always your best weapon. I mean, is your mind. That's always going to be it, and that's what has kept us alive for thousands of years. That's why we're high on the food chain as we are and have the technology we have, because we use our brains and and thought things through. I mean, it's a rock. It's just not just a rock. You crack it in half, you got an edge. You can cut something with. It makes a difference. The things you like I say, you look at things different when you get on a certain skill level. You look at everything different. I see a curved limb, I think, oh, I make a good throwing stick. Just look at things different. So, but it's a good way to be. So,
awesome.
You guys got a treasure trove of information out there on the internet with YouTube. I mean, I know somebody the other day told me that YouTube was like their second dad, or the dad they never had, because they can learn things from the YouTube that their dad couldn't teach them. There's a lot of things out there, and you're living you can take advantage of that technology, but I also advise you to get off and get a line and get outside and practice it and just try stuff out. But I'm thankful though there are websites like Madison's got with the Bombproof Bushcraft. I have a website called wayoftheraven.net, and if you look on there, there's a lot of resources on there. I don't mind telling you about other teachers and other people and other books, that I didn't write, or that I don't get any money from, because this is valuable, to me. I have written a book though called Can You Survive, which I can recommend. I would buy it even if I didn't write it, because it's got a lot of good pictures in it. It covers a lot of basics and stuff. And if you're in the southeast area, there's a lot of good teaching around. Look on my website for a calendar. There's also a connection on there for a calendar that shows that's topically arranged by state. You can look on there and find actually legitimate, skilled teachers and stuff. But you'd be surprised what you can learn though. We were talking about earlier about, it's not just the superstar teachers, that you can learn from. Find that old guy that's, lived this way all of his life. He didn't call it survival skills. It's just daily living to him. Find those people and seek them out, and, read stuff, try stuff. You definitely got to get hands-on with this. There's just no way around it if you're going to get good at it. I read all day long about making a bow and drill fire. I never could until somebody showed me, and then it made sense to me, and then I wrote about it too, but I put in a lot more detail, I think, than stuff that I read, so that you could, and that makes a difference. You can tell, who's written something, that knows what they're talking about. But it's fun, it's enjoyable. I think it's important, and it's good talking to you guys, and maybe we'll talk again.